Hey everybody, welcome back to Five for Family. So glad that you're joining us again this week. So this week we are super privileged to have one of our young adults reading for us. So excited to have her for the first time sharing tonight's story. So, Imani, on to our story.
God's Messenger, Jonah and the Big Fish, from Jonah 1-4 and Hebrews 1:1-2. God had a job for Jonah, but Jonah didn't want it. Go to Nineveh, God said, and tell your worst enemies that I love them. No, said Jonah. Those are bad people doing bad things. Exactly, said God. They have run far away from me, but I can't stop loving them. I will give them a new start. I'll forgive them. No, said Jonah. They don't deserve it. I'll run far away, Jonah said to himself. Far away, so far away that God won't be able to find me. Then I won't have to do what God says. It's a good plan, he said, because as far as he knew, it was a good plan. But of course, it wasn't a good plan at all. It was a silly plan, because you can run away from God, but he will always come and find you. Jonah went ahead with his not very good plan. One ticket to not Nineveh, please, he said, and boarded a boat sailing in the very opposite direction of Nineveh. Well, it wasn't long before a fierce wind blew, and the boat started to lurch and pitch and roll, and everyone started turning green. Jonah sat bolt upright in his bed. You see, the first thing that went wrong with Jonah's not very good plan was that God sent a big storm after him. The sailors couldn't sail their ship properly. We're sinking, they screamed, and started throwing everything overboard. Suitcases, food, whatever they could find. But now, Jonah knew that the storm was his fault. Throw me in instead, he shouted to the sailors, and the storm will stop. The sailors weren't sure. It's the only way you can be saved, Jonah cried. And so, 1, 2, 3. Splash! No sooner had Jonah hit the water than the waves grew calm, the wind died down, and the storm stopped. Just then, when Jonah thought it was all over, when he was sure he was going to drown, God sent a big fish to rescue him. The fish swallowed Jonah whole with one big gulp. Jonah must have thought he died. It was so dark in there, like in a tomb. But then he smelled the rotting food and felt the slimy seaweed, and he knew he wasn't dead. He was in the belly of a fish. Sitting there in the darkness for 3 whole days, Jonah had plenty of time to think. Pretty soon he realized his plan was, well, a very silly plan indeed. He was sorry for running away. He prayed to God from inside the great fish and asked God to forgive him. After 3 days, the fish spat Jonah safely out onto a sandy beach. Just then, Jonah heard someone calling his name. Go to Nineveh, God said. And this time, Jonah said, yes. He went straight to Nineveh and told everyone God's wonderful message. Even though you've run far from God, he can't stop loving you, Jonah told them. Run to him so he can forgive you. The people of Nineveh listened to Jonah and they started loving God. They learned to do what God said and to stop running away from him, just like Jonah. Many years later, God was going to send another messenger with the same wonderful message, like Jonah, and he would spend 3 days in utter darkness. But this messenger would be God's own son. He would be called the Word, because he himself would be God's message. God's message translated into our own language. Everything God wanted to say to the whole world in a person.
Thank you so much, Imani. So now we're on to our question and answer portion. So don't forget to press pause. All right, so your first question. Who's today's story about? Press pause. What did God want Jonah to tell the Ninevites? Press pause. Did Jonah obey God? Press pause. What did Jonah do? Was there a consequence for his actions? Press pause. Are there consequences for your actions when you disobey? Press pause. Did God still love Jonah even though he had disobeyed? Press pause. Does God still love you even though sometimes you disobey? Press pause. When Jonah finally went to Nineveh and told the people that God loved them, how did the Ninevites respond? Press pause. Are there people that you can share the love of Jesus with in your life? Press pause. So now to our activity portion. It is August and it is hot. So if you have a pool, I am 100% for a reenactment of Jonah. Go splash and just have some fun and think about how God can use even what seems like the craziest situations to teach people that He still loves them, that He has a call on their lives, and that we should obey God. So go have some fun and reinforce those lessons. Also, another fantastic idea. If you don't have somewhere to splash, stay in the air conditioning and watch VeggieTales Jonah. Because that gospel portion, when he is in the whale, fantastic. You can always act it out in the house, build it with blocks, Legos, any of those things, and just have a blast remembering that God wants us to share who He is and that He loves everyone with other people. So one final thing, and maybe the biggest thing I would encourage you to do as a family, seek to share the gospel with someone. Pray that the Lord provides a person that your family can share the gospel with. And then take the time to just tell them about Jesus. Tell them about the love of God. Parents, this is a great way that you can disciple your kids and teach them how to share the gospel. Just love on somebody and let them know about the love that God has for them. I love you guys and I miss you so much, and I'm praying that you're staying cool and inside and safe, and I'll talk to you again next week.